I'd like to share a journey and a passion that I've had for 25 years of exploring inquiry. It seems like a long time, yet it seems like it just started yesterday. So it all began here at Rossford School. I was exploring science inquiry with my grade 2s, and at that time we went out to the hillside behind the school called the Butte. There's a forest on it. And we were looking at creepy crawlies was the name of the unit, but it's the small flying and crawling insects unit. And we explored that hillside and it was rich with life. It was incredible. And then we came down to our playground. This vast monoculture of grass. I think it was a little big enough that if the kids actually went to the far end of it, they wouldn't be back until the end of the day. And so they started looking around and thought, there's no bugs here. Like, there's nothing living here. Why? Why do we do this? What was here before? What can we do? Because this is crazy. We can't use all this grass. Besides, you got to cut this grass all the time. So it started the work on a huge inquiry that involved the teachers and the students. It escalated to 2 schools and the community involved in it. And there's the result. They recreated the wetlands and the marsh in the back there. This was an inquiry for teachers and students because we've never done that before. It was a huge project. There's geese nesting there. I can remember the first time the geese nested there and they started to leave. Grant, our principal, we started to herd the geese back to safety because they were trying to cross the highway. Didn't work. This was the first stab I had at authentic constructivist learning 25 years ago. Here's a picture of 2 teachers that are still at the school, and they are shepherding this project, and their classes still come out and use this as a science laboratory for their students. And by the way, those 2 teachers are sitting just over there in the audience right now. I invited them here. When I left that school, I went to Bowdoin Grandview, and this was my grade 2 classroom, and also a high school classroom, because I taught grade 2 and high school at the same time. The grade 2s were more mature, by the way. So this was an interesting space because I had to open this room up and get it going. And so you'll notice that it's set up for collaboration. 4 teams in the room. It's infused with technology. So that became the next step in my journey in inquiry, because now I was looking at, okay, inquiry is driven by questions, as you heard the kids asking questions and developing it the first time. And they did that on their own. A little bit like Sugata talked about. I had never ever caught that similarity between what happened to me and what he's talking about. And so this place here now, we have our teams that work. And it's around collaboration now and infusing technology. So now there's 3 pieces to the puzzle. Questions, technology, the tools of the culture that are current, and the collaboration that happens in this. So I left there, and for some crazy reason, I went to work in the division office as a director. And the high school down the road came to me, and the principal said, we have this awesome, awesome classroom, gym size, and we're pumping out some high school CTS credits. But we want to look at it from a different way. How can we change the way teaching is happening and let the kids be in charge of the learning in this space that's infused with technology, lots of opportunities for collaboration in it? And so this is where I moved from being a facilitator of constructing inquiry for children to now to the high school scenario, or rather a leadership scenario where I started to facilitate teachers in a journey in inquiry. So this is where it all started, about 15 years ago. So yes, I have been around a long time. So why the passion? It's just so exciting. I retired 6 years ago. Yes, I did. I get that response all the time. It's like, why are you still here then? Why aren't you in Hawaii or somewhere biking? Because you do that all the time, the biking anyways. Well, I failed miserably at retirement. I was having too much fun working with the teachers, working with the students, and the job's unfinished. So there's 3 pieces that really drive that for me. One are the students. And I really can't say this for the students. I'm going to let them tell their story, because I have a little video clip following here that gives the story of their excitement and their passion for that constructivist. Also authentic learning, because I match authentic with inquiry. I don't want it to be a contrived inquiry. They have to take ownership in it.
It just involves learning about new things, asking questions, discovering. It's almost like solving a mystery. You need to know more. And yeah, to me, that's what inquiry means. That's what I take.
Yeah, I'm a very kinetic learner when it comes to learning, so being able just to go out there and be hands-on, that's a lot of helpful to my learning.
I think we would call it something like physical learning, because when we're actually out there and we're in groups and we're learning about what's around us, I would call it physical learning.
I had no idea that I was going to get this inspired to do things, and I am, and now it feels great.
When I share that video with teachers, they go, I want 20 of those kids in my classroom. That's incredible. They can speak well about their work, what works for them, their own learning styles. I think that's what learning's all about. And I think inquiry enables that to happen. So that's one of the reasons why I'm still unretired. The second piece is the teachers. Working with the teachers, helping them develop an inquiry stance, the excitement that they have, and the excitement that they have sharing and telling the stories of what happens in their classroom. Again, I have another video clip because they say it so much better than I do.
The most fascinating part for me is what's actually happened within education on a larger scale when you start connecting with teachers across Canada, hearing from stories from the States of moving towards inquiry. I get chills thinking about it, and I'm so excited.
We always talk to the kids about, it's not the content, the things that you learn or memorize or have to study that's important. It's how you're learning and how you demonstrate what you can do and what you've been building on for the last couple of years. And so every year we end off with an inquiry project.
Until I had the experience of other schools, other grade levels, other people that didn't know me, that round circle planning at the very beginning was absolutely revolutionary for me in terms of what I do and how I think. And I honestly don't think that my classroom or me as a teacher will ever be the same.
I'm going to steal a phrase from Mark. It gives me chills when I hear those kind of things. The work now I'm going to share with you is actually what the students are engaged in. These last pieces and the videos have been from the work at Rocky View Schools. And now we're going to take a look at some of the pitches, we call them, that the teachers have built to pose those questions. Now, Sugata talked about giving them a really big question. This is what they've done. So the first one is a grade 1 project. And you got to keep that in mind, because it is grade 1 we're talking about here now. It's be an engineer. So here are those really big questions that Sugata talked about. What makes good design? The balance between beauty and function. I know that we often think, oh, we can't ask those questions of grade 1. But it's incredible when we do and we allow them to explore them. So here's the pitch. The pitch is that hook. At the elementary level, it's more visual with a little bit of text. The question's in there. They explored these images. They were given the task of looking at bridges. What makes a good bridge? They explored the images, started developing an understanding of what possibly makes up a good design. Then they started an engineering process, because if you remember back in the first thing, it was called Be an Engineer. We want them to behave like experts in the field. So now they would design a bridge. They would build it. They would predict what's going to happen. They would test it, record what happened, and then reflect on what was right, what was wrong, then redesign, rebuild, and continue that cycle of continuous improvement. Here are the key understandings. I look back and I think, wow, because I taught grade 2 originally. That's pretty amazing conversations those kids are getting involved in. The second one is a grade 4 project around, is our town sustainable? It's about Crossfield. It's being challenged. Airdrie's growing like crazy. Calgary's big. Airdrie's got Walmart, Home Depot, all the big box stores. The community is struggling. It's a transient community. They looked at the old and the new pictures of the town. The question was posed to them. They spoke with the mayor. They spoke with community members, their parents, students at the high school. Are you coming back? Or are you running away and not coming back? You want to go somewhere else. They worked on a sustainability plan for the town. How can we make our town successful? They studied other successful communities in the areas and then presented it back to the mayor and the town council. That's authentic work with a purpose. There's their key understandings. Huge ideas. The last one is how can we coexist? And this is grade 8. So grade 8 social studies about worldview, cultures colliding, renaissance and change. Malala was the trigger for them. The Pakistani girl who was shot by the Taliban. She was their age. The question was posed, how can we coexist? And there's the pitch with a little more text as it's a older level now, an image, some conversation there, and they started the search. What is going on? What is the Western way of thinking? Who are the Taliban? Why is this conflict here? Has she changed the world? And they worked on this. They had a blog to post the articles that they found in. They had to write summaries of them, link back to those originals, have conversations in the blog, conversations in the classroom. They did case studies around conflicts that have happened. At that level, in the program of studies, it asked for the Spanish and the Aztecs. They explored that one with vigor. Try that in a regular classroom. Then they looked at other conflicts that are happening now in the world. And they came up with a set of guidelines of how to bring people together to sit down at the table and have a conversation about resolving the issues. Now, the interesting piece is that one of the teachers said the students realized that these guidelines would work really well in the playground. And so they became a set of guidelines that their classroom used to resolve issues that were happening. And here are a couple of the key understandings that they were working with. So that's my inquiry. 25 years long, 15 years working with teachers to engage in inquiry. How can you not be excited? They can't get rid of me yet.